What's up guys, welcome to Found Flicks. On this Ending Explained...
But is that what really happens?
This is all the Easter eggs, references, and little things you might have missed.
Its ending and a bunch of little details you missed along the way.
On this Ending Explained...
The ending and all of the clues that build up towards it.
There's something that happens when we watch a YouTube video that explains a piece of media. This feeling is amplified when the view count is insurmountable, to the point where the amount of likes is plain enormous. This creates a stifling of creative input that happens along this process of inspiration. Last night I sat down with a pen and paper to watch, for the first time ever, Under the Skin, figuring that from what I've heard, it would be a great movie to pick apart and analyze. I sat down with the movie, even pausing at points, to get some of my thoughts down. The movie eventually ended, and I felt I had a pretty good semblance of what happened, could turn my thoughts into a script of some sort. Despite feeling I had most of the movie down, I decided to watch some YouTube analyses, as most English courses will teach you to read up on different viewpoints to understand the full context. And to be honest, I definitely did walk away from the videos with ideas I hadn't thought of in the film. But it brings me to what this whole deal is about. It started to become discouraging to have my own thoughts on the film. It reminds me of points in my childhood when, now looking back, I would do things that the masses would do, like rooting for the Seahawks only when they were one of the biggest teams in the league, and neglecting that I really didn't care for football in the first place. It's best simply described as the bandwagon effect. Lots of my taste in music has been warped by what others think of it. This goes for movies, games, and all the like, and it took a while for me to really develop a taste of my own, disregarding what others may think of a certain piece of art. No matter how many people crap on Young Lean, I'll keep listening, because it's what I like. It's been a huge revelation for me to carry on with this mindset. As previously mentioned, this bandwagon effect does not just go for reception, but interpretation and understanding of a film, usually one that brings along with it some layer of abstraction. Just like it would be hard for myself not to cave in to how good people think something is, it's the same for how people understand it. I would accept any explained video as fact, and while yes, some people who analyze art are incredibly versed at it way more than myself, lots of these works are not meant to have one meaning. This is why the video, Twin Peaks Actually Explained, No Really, a 4.5-hour analysis of Twin Peaks not including its subsequent videos and responses, has driven a wedge into the Twin Peaks community. It's a common sentiment with this video that I am, yes, bandwagoning on, that while the video isn't really the entire problem, but how it's extruded. It represents the aspect of an analysis that's harmful to open conversation. And yes, I recognize that the title's main purpose is to get clicks, and that's part of the reason it's so provocative, but that is far from an excuse, and the attitude also carries itself into the content of the review. My initial viewing of 2001: A Space Odyssey marked the shift in attitude towards these videos. I was filled with such amazing ideas, with the perfect amount left up to interpretation, as to leave the movie boiling in my mind endlessly. Odyssey and Twin Peaks were insurmountable and teach me just how much the impact of a movie has to do with how much is still left on the table, as to be fully understood would kill off a lot of intrigue. Both of these works were meant to instill this feeling, making sure that even on rewatch, they will never be fully understood, purposefully having concrete plot points that eventually drop the viewer off into abstraction. This really is what makes a lot of my favorite films so great, to the point that there is a part of me that tries not to understand if it's actually real in Inception, or what actually happens at the end of the thing. All this led to me dropping these online critiques, so that that layer of abstraction would remain, leaving it up to only my rewatches to grasp them fuller. But it's obvious that with what I've said so far, that this is no longer the case, and it brings me into what I would truly like to say about the topic. Mentioning the Twin Peaks video feels like an unfortunate but necessary evil because of its connotations, but lots of reviewers are truly great when it comes to separating their opinions from the objective, and letting audiences know that their interpretation does not have to be yours. In the analysis that played a large part in the creation of this video, Chris Stuckman's Under the Skin Explained, Chris intelligently explains that the video is only his interpretation.
As I often remind you, this is only my interpretation of the movie. Others may have their own. This is just how I see it.
I bring this up because reviewers do deserve their credit, that even though the snobby do exist, it doesn't mean that it's everyone. I also highlight this in preface because despite this warning, I felt myself cave into the explanations given. Lots of the metaphors brought up were ones I completely failed to have any sort of thoughts on, and to be honest, what was originally me taking notes on a film intended for my own analysis ultimately felt dead in the water. What was I to bring to this film when some of the biggest themes were left undetected? The creation of this video is meant to reconcile this feeling, to inspire others and myself where the idea of media literacy is held so high. It shocks me as an English major in a way that feels like I've failed to pick apart art to the extent I've been taught. But I reassure myself, looking in my notebook, seeing the things I picked out in the film that belong untouched. Things that I can bring to the table in my own way, like how the movie as a whole is shot, and how it underlines the utter mechanism that drives our daily life. The way a simple steering wheel in a car seems to be the focus. She can be seen not using power windows, but hand crank windows, despite the film being shot in the 2010s. A stylistic choice that again, to me, comments on the movie's themes, and is not purely incidental.
Someone who is currently writing a novel and keeping it entirely to themselves, I have to stop and ask myself, am I missing out on something useful here?
It's important to get in touch with whatever feelings are true to you. Let these works of art change you. Let them ruminate. Life is boring. Don't just watch, understand. Let your thoughts guide you.